Today, we are going to be talking about one of the most popular superstars in the company, Seth Freaking Rollins. The man who has been burning down his own career in the last few years. Although he is still well liked with the WWE Universe, fans are slowly losing their love for Seth Rollins. His behavior isn't something totally new. In fact, he's been a bad role model for the last 7 years, despite being portrayed as one of the biggest faces in the company. Seth Rollins needs to be aware that his actions are being viewed upon from millions of fans. Thankfully, people are now realizing it and they are calling him out. With the small platform that I've built on this community, I feel like I need to speak out about this topic because it isn't good for a kid who is growing up and looking up to him. If you are a fan of Rollins, please hear me out and then make up your decision on how you view him. Sometimes, your heroes aren't as wonderful as you perceive them. We need to hold people accountable in life, otherwise they will never change. Let's jump into all the controversy surrounding the former Universal Champion. First, I actually want to talk about my personal experience when I met him in real life. And when I say met, I mean I saw him in a bar and made the most awkward contact with him ever. In order to understand the story, you need some background information. This took place during 2016, one day before SummerSlam after NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. At that time, I was the biggest Seth Rollins fan. He was actually my favorite wrestler. After leaving the Barclays Center and walking to my car, these three dudes were looking for a bar that was playing some UFC fight. I was looking at some bars because I was curious who was fighting, and that's when I spotted Seth Rollins just sitting in a bar with the Usos and the New Day along with some other wrestlers. Being a young and dumb teenager I walked in and wanted to speak to my favorite wrestler. This moment was very special for me because I'd never met any wrestlers before. As I spoke with the most nervous voice ever, I said,
Hi Seth.
Instead of saying anything, Rollins just looked at me and then looked away. I then got kicked out by a bartender and that was pretty much it. Although I am aware that I shouldn't have just went in there and just done that, I believe that Seth Rollins could have handled that a lot better. Maybe saying something like, hey, yeah, thanks for being a fan, but I'm busy now, but I appreciate the support. Something along those lines would have been a lot more professional. In an interview, he said, "My favorite thing to do is run into fans coincidentally. Today, the National Car Rental guy recognized me and got so excited and wanted to take a picture. Awesome. It was a fan that happened to run into me." I don't know how much truth there is to what he stated. It turns out other fans also have bad experiences with him as well. Many people online have also spoken out about their experiences meeting Rollins, and a lot of them say similar things to my story. To sum up most of their words, Rollins is basically really cocky and comes across as rude. I don't really know how true that is, but I can definitely see it. Also, Rollins is known to hate people who meet him at the airport. He claims that people who see him there are stalkers and will never get a picture or autograph. I think it isn't fair to say that everyone who sees him there are stalkers. Maybe someone really just saw him while they were also traveling elsewhere at the same time. This proves that his attitude of being above everyone could be true because he thinks highly of himself. As for those creeps who actually do stalk people like that, that's understandable and those people need to stop. That's just weird and y'all don't deserve any pictures. There are also different factors that could play with Seth Rollins' mood, so we really never will understand if he was just having a bad day. Celebrities are human too and have emotions. As for Rollins being rude to fans, I'll give him a pass for that, but I think him cheating on his fiance was one of the worst things you could ever do. If you cheat on someone while in a relationship, nonetheless, someone you are engaged with, you are just a dick who doesn't think about someone else's feelings. For those of you who are confused, let me explain. Seth Rollins was engaged with Layla Schultz, and his nudes got leaked with someone else who was in NXT at the time. Yes, the entire WWE Universe got a good look at Seth Rollins and his ding-dong. After the incident, WWE just made him post a basic tweet apologizing for his nude getting leaked. WWE still continued to push him and he wasn't punished for his actions. This was a bad decision because it's a really bad look for the company. Somehow though, he managed to get past it and people seem to forget about it. Well, I didn't, and I think I will never have respect for him. If he ever tries to pull that shit on Becky Lynch, we will all meet up and respectively fight Seth Rollins at the same time. Aside from cheating on his fiancée, there was a recent report that explained Seth Rollins would send nudes to multiple women even if they were married. The husband of Caitlyn, who used to work for the company if you remember her, claims that he saw a nude of Seth Rollins on her phone. She had to explain to him that Rollins is flirty and he does that with a lot of people. There are so many wrong things with that if it is true. That is beyond flirting in my opinion. Besides that, how many more women have seen Seth Rollins' penis? Does he just send out a memo to everyone? How many married women had to see another man's dick that they work with? This can be tied to Rollins and his cockiness yet again that people talk about. I couldn't have used cockiness at a more perfect time. Ultimately, I'm not sure how true this story is because Caitlyn's ex-husband did tell it. However, it does not seem like it's out of Rollins' ballpark with the dumb things he's done. If it is true, it shows that he doesn't have much respect for the women he speaks to. After Dean Ambrose left WWE and became Jon Moxley again, the wrestling world was thrilled. Ever since wrestling at New Japan and AEW, it seems that Moxley has found his happiness again. Of course, you'd assume that one of his best friends for the last decade has to be extremely happy for him too, right? Well, here's what Seth Rollins said about Jon Moxley, and let's dissect it. Ambrose can do whatever he wants. He's a big boy, and he's got big boy pants on. Is he really trying to be sarcastic here? Because that's the vibe that I'm getting. Why use the words big boy and big boy pants? Is he trying to belittle Jon Moxley, his best friend, or one of his former best friends for all we know? I don't know. But at the end of the day, he took his ball and he went home. Or he went elsewhere at least. And I think it's a little presumptuous of him to get on a podcast and talk down about the company that gave him such an opportunity. Took his ball and went home? No, that's just wrong. He stayed throughout his entire contract and then respectfully declined a new one. Put some respect on how he dealt with that situation. And he's not talking down about the company. He's speaking about the truth and the reality of why the company is declining. Look at the ratings and the unhappy fans of the product. This leads me to my next problem. Yep, the man who was once a die-hard wrestling fan and indie wrestler putting on classics has officially become a cringy yes man for the company. Seth Rollins continues to defend the company regardless of the way that they treat their superstars. He also defends the product even though it's at its worst it's ever been with the constant rewrites 30 minutes before the show even airs. Raw and SmackDown are terrible and they are becoming unwatchable. Just take a look at Seth Rollins' segments. He had a short title reign and is now being destroyed by Brock Lesnar. The way he tweets about how WWE is great and how he likes the creative process is mind-boggling. How about you speak to the roster and get them to rile up and speak to Vince McMahon, hoping that you can actually make a change and help the product become better than just saying yes to whatever is happening. The way he tweets about WWE is kind of cringy and he should stop. The main tweet I'd like to highlight is the one about his bank account when he got into a Twitter feud with Will Ospreay. The two were having a fun little back and forth argument and Rollins decided to bring up the amount of money he makes, basically showing off that he makes a lot more than Will. Not to mention, this was around the time of the Saudi Arabia show this year. So, Seth Rollins was literally making fun of someone's salary with the blood money he got from Saudi Arabia. How stupid do you have to be to tweet that? How much of an ass do you have to be to think that? He would go on to apologize about it, but it was after a few days and possibly some social media officials in the WWE tell him to do so. I think this demonstrates the mindset that Seth Rollins has. The final point I want to make is that Seth Rollins bashed intergender wrestling and does not believe in it. In an interview, he said, "There are places for it, but this full-on independent style women versus men match where the women are chokeslamming the men? Our business is based in realism, so let's do that as best as we can. I think let's live in reality a little bit here." This is a rude comment and disrespectful to those women who are working their asses off to prove that intergender wrestling can work. People like Candice LeRae Nia Jax and Tessa Blanchard have proven that Rollins is completely wrong about this statement. It's a very close-minded opinion and is way out of line. I think intergender wrestling could be spectacular if it is done properly. Also, we are all aware that wrestling is not real, Seth. No one would ever believe that you could beat Brock Lesnar in a fight. So you can take your realism and throw it right out the window. That's pretty much it for this video. These remarks and comments are continuing to show the true colors of Seth Rollins, and I don't think he's that great of a role model, and I believe people are becoming blind to this stuff just because he is their favorite superstar. As I said earlier, we need to keep them accountable and in check because a few apologies clearly are not working. He keeps saying dumb things and someone needs to keep him away from a live microphone. Rollins worked so hard to earn this spot on the top, but we are witnessing the self-destruction of Seth Rollins. And that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Pllana, and I'll see you all on the next video.